For the first time in 40 years, a majority of Americans say the U.S. plays a less important and powerful role in the world than it did a decade ago. The Pew survey also found that 70% of Americans saw the U.S. as less respected than in the past, nearly the same, 71%, as under President George W. Bush. More than half of Americans, 52%, for the first time in 50 years, said the U.S. should mind its own business. Some 56% disapproved of President Barack Obama's foreign policy. 53% of the public felt the U.S. played a less important or powerful role as a world leader than a decade previously. The last time more than half of the public held that view was in 1974. A decade ago, just 20% of Americans felt the same way. International disengagement. In Tuesday's survey, only 17% of Americans said the U.S. had a more important or powerful role in world affairs than 10 years ago. Republicans were more likely to view the U.S. as having declined in influence. -74% of them thought so. But 55% of independents said the same thing, up from 23% in 2004. The survey also showed support for a less active U.S. in world affairs. Some 51% of respondents said the U.S. does too much to solve world problems. 53% of Republicans, 46% of Democrats and 55% of independents said the U.S. should mind its own business. The public also thought the U.S. should be less engaged internationally. A plurality of respondents, 39%, believed the U.S. should be less involved in seeking to resolve the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Some 36% thought Washington's current level of engagement in that issue was enough. But the survey did not suggest an entirely isolationist outlook was taking hold among Americans. U.S. support for more participation in the global economy has increased, it found. Some 77% said the growing trade and business ties between the U.S. and other countries was a good thing. However, there was a mistaken belief among many that China is the world's top economic power. -48% of respondents thought so. Just 31% correctly said it was the U.S. America's gross domestic product is nearly twice that of China, according to World Bank data, although the gap between the two has been closing. President Obama's foreign policy was approved of by only 34% of respondents in the Pew survey. The public overwhelmingly viewed dimly his handling of Syria, Iran, China and Afghanistan. Only on terrorism do more respondents approve, 51%, than disapprove of his approach. While Islamic extremist groups such as Al-Qaeda were still considered the top threat by survey respondents, 70% rank cyber attacks from other countries as a major threat, placing them on par with concerns about Iran and North Korea's nuclear programs. The survey of the general public was conducted between 30 October and 6 November among 2,003 adults, said Pew Research Center.